अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु संसारवर्त्मनि। अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु संसारवर्त्मनि। O Parantapa, Parantapa means scorcher or force, another name for Arjuna. Men devoid of Shraddha, faith in this Dharma, Dharma referring to the royal knowledge which he spoke of in the first and the second verse, without attaining me, return to the path of the mortal world. Aprapya, without attaining. Nivartante, return. Mrityu, samsara, vartmani, return to the path of the mortal world. So in the first and the second verses, we have seen where he says the royal knowledge and the royal secret. He said it is righteous. Righteous, it is the dharma that which you are when you are true to yourself. So that is the royal goal. The royal path to get to that royal goal is the path of dharma, the path of righteousness, which he said is very easy to practice. He also said it is directly realizable. It is also said it is the purifier, it's a supreme purifier. The royal goal, the royal path. And then here he says how to get to that goal. So one of the quintessential qualities of a seeker is clarified again and again. They keep mentioning it. So now and then we keep coming across this concept of Shraddha. So men devoid of Shraddha, ashraddhadhanaha, ashraddha, those who are not having this Shraddha, as we often say, Shraddha, even though is translated as faith, there is no English equivalent to that Sanskrit word. In fact, when you club faith with an understanding, it becomes Shraddha. Faith is mere belief in something. But when you have a profound understanding of that faith, it becomes Shraddha. And when we say an understanding, we are talking about an intellectual element, an intellectual aspect, which is essential not only in the pursuit of the self, in fact, it is essential in any pursuit. So Shraddha is a belief with an understanding. Shraddha is also explained as a capacity to pursue anything in life till you get to the very end of it. So Shraddha, as I said, is a capacity to pursue anything until you get to the very end of it. See, there's a slight difference between Shraddha and Dhriti. Dhriti is said to be consistency of purpose. So the accent when you talk of Dhriti is when you perform an action consistently. Opposite of that is your erratic, there is indiscipline, there is inconsistency. So when you talk of erratic, inconsistent, those are the realms of the mind. When your mind takes up any action, action invariably becomes inconsistent. But the quality of consistency is an element of the intellect. That's the reason I'm saying Dhriti and Shraddha are very close qualities, but the accent on Dhriti is to make your actions consistent. But the accent on Shraddha is, it is a capacity to perform necessary actions until you get to the goal. So the accent in Shraddha is to reach your goal, is to get to the destination. The accent on Dhriti is to keep your actions consistent. Now, both these aspects are emanating from the intellect, from the buddhi. I hope you get what I'm saying. Shraddha and Dhriti both are intellectual qualities, but Dhriti, many mistake it. Why I'm clarifying it is often in the studies, people mistake Dhriti to be Shraddha. Therefore, I'm mentioning it so that we don't, there's no room for confusion. So I repeat, Dhriti is nothing but keeping your actions consistent. Now, what makes an actions consistent is the intellect. Opposed to that is when your actions are driven on the mind, by the mind, you're not able to keep an action going constantly. There is a certain amount of inconsistency comes in. You become erratic. There are intervals between the actions you perform. So your mind, why does it happen? Because that's the very nature of the mind. The mind can never stick to anything. So in order to be consistent, something has to police the mind. So when the intellect polices the mind, then actions become consistent. Now, I'm not talking what you're consistent. You can be consistent in anything, whether it could be leading a disciplined life, whether are you consistent in getting up in the morning, are you consistent in exercising? Whatever discipline you're following, is there consistency? So what injects consistency to any quality is Dhriti. Now, different to that is Shraddha. Shraddha is the capacity to not lose sight of the goal and continue to strive until you reach the goal, which is your objective. So there is this clear-cut difference, but the common factor is both these qualities are intellectual qualities. They belong to the realm of the buddhi. Now, when the text talks about one who is devoid of Shraddha, now what is the Shraddha you and I need to have with reference to the spiritual goal? Because the context of the usage of Shraddha is only to the spiritual goal of realization, isn't it? He is only talking of self-realization. Now, I want to know, what is it that you have to do along with Shraddha to get to the goal? So how do you apply Shraddha? What are you applying Shraddha to in the spiritual field? Shraddha I've already defined. Now, as a spiritual seeker, what is it that you and I should do with Shraddha to reach the goal of realization? It's like we all are planning to travel. Okay, travel is essential. We have to travel. But what are you carrying along with you when you travel is the point. We all need to have Shraddha in the spiritual field. But what do you apply Shraddha to in order to reach the goal of realization? Because if you don't do that, without attaining me, you'll return to the path of the mortal world. Sanjay took a deep breath. What was that for?
It was just a deep breath so I can think a bit more effectively. It's not an easy, it sounds like an easy question. It's not an easy question to me.
No, it sounds complicated, but the answer is quite straightforward. So the first verse, the Lord said, I will give you this knowledge along with wisdom. Didn't he say that? Because you are very dear to me, because you don't cavil, right? So here he is giving you the knowledge of the royal knowledge, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya. He's giving you the knowledge. Now the knowledge, you got to make use of the knowledge to reach the goal of realization. Am I right?
Yes.
How would you use the knowledge to get to the goal of realization? With Shraddha, isn't it? When you apply Shraddha to this knowledge, you would get to the goal of realization. Now, I have given you the raw material. The question is, what would you have to do with this knowledge to reach the goal of realization?
Apply it to our actions.
Is it that easy to apply? Is it as direct as you receive the knowledge and you go out into the world and apply it?
No. So we need to contemplate on it. We need to understand and integrate it into our thinking. Monitor where we are not doing it and keep self-correcting. So that becomes our source of truth, and then keep self-correcting as best as we can to align to that truth, to align to that, to those truths.
So once the knowledge reaches you, you have to go through the process of internalizing. You have to go through the process of that information to create a transformation in you. So until the transformation happens, there has to be Shraddha. So the Shraddha has to be applied to the exercise of converting the knowledge into wisdom, And when you do that, the result is transformation. And if you don't do that with Shraddha, you will, as he says, you will return to the path of the mortal world. So use this quality of Shraddha to this knowledge. Am I committed to convert this knowledge into wisdom and not leave the knowledge midway? As I said, Shraddha is the capacity to go to the very end. Like when you buy the raw vegetable from the market, you buy it so that it goes through the process of cleaning, chopping, cooking until it gets consumed. Imagine you don't complete the process, or the cooking process is left half cooked. It's not edible. But by merely buying the raw vegetables from the market, the best of it, and you put it in the cold storage or the freezer in your house, that itself, that also is of no use. I got to take it out. I can't cook all the vegetables I've got for the whole week. I just need a little portion of it for my family. Cleanse it, chop it, cook it to the proportion you need it, and then consume it. That is the transformation. But you leave it midway, that is of no use to you. So the Shraddha with reference to the knowledge is information must create a transformation in you. Till that transformation comes, you will not stop. It's like a very interesting exercise. You know, when in India, I don't know whether you have seen it, we have these, they drill bore. You know, every home has a bore, and these machines come and keep drill hole deep into the bowel of the earth. Some go even up to 1,000 feet because there's no water. But they keep digging and digging and digging and digging until they hit the bed of water. Imagine they give it up 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, they give up. There's no water. Having gone so much, you rather keep going till the end until you hit the bed of water. That is Shraddha. Now, you have to self-evaluate yourself. Each of us have to self-evaluate. How much of Shraddha have I got in me to create a transformation through the information I receive? Rajavidya, Rajagurya, you're getting a royal knowledge, a royal secret, but what are you doing about it? There is no Shraddha at all. Or is there intense Shraddha that I draw the hidden wisdom out of it? This is a trademark of a true student. The capacity to pursue it till the end. I'm not talking of the goal of realization here. I'm talking about the knowledge, information, creating a transformation in me. I will not leave it until it becomes a part of me. That kind of an attitude. You can apply it to anything in life, but we are applying Shraddha to the knowledge which you're receiving. And it's not easy. With your little association with me or with this knowledge, you know how difficult it is. It's not easy. Even to get up in the morning and sit and study and reflect is not easy. It's very, very demanding, very challenging. So the kind of clarity, the kind of commitment required is unparalleled. And to have the kind of Shraddha until you reach the goal of self-realization is a different ballgame. not just converting knowledge into wisdom, to have that Shraddha until you get to the goal. So those who don't have this quality will obviously be confined to, you keep returning back to this mortal world. You keep getting caught up in the cycle of birth and death. You get caught up in entanglements, terrestrial entanglements. So the only way out for all of us out of this entanglement is perseverance, consistency, is Shraddha. Having chosen the path, you got to keep at it. You know, elsewhere in the Gita, it is said, I don't know how many of you recall it, I've mentioned before, you are not defined by your vasanas. You are defined by your Shraddha. Like I think yesterday's class, I'm not wrong, Harish said that vasanas is your nature. Was it not you, Harish, who said that? He said it's your nature. And your nature is nothing but your vasanas. Isn't it? Now, how many vasanas you have, Harish?
From my understanding, Guruji, the vasanas that I still have are the ones that are not yet fulfilled or manifested as of now.
No, you're being very technical. I want a quantitative description of your vasanas. Whether manifest or not manifest is another story.
I'm not sure how to answer the question, Guruji.
Sorry, you don't have an answer to my question.
No, Guruji.
I'm not being specific. You can go a little bit here and there, you know. A few hundred or a few thousand here and there is fine. Now, let's say, Harish, you have got 500 vasanas.
Yeah.
Is it justifiable to say you have 500 vasanas?
Yes.
Huh? Reddigar is not agreeing with you. What? 500? I have been very charitable to say 500 vasanas. That could be 50,000 vasanas there.
Guruji, with the 500 vasanas, we can't attend this class.
Why? Out of the 500, one vasana is philosophy also. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I am in a very good mood today. I'll give 100 vasanas. Knock off 400. 100 vasanas you have. Okay. Are you acceptable to the figure? Now, of the 100 vasanas, what is it that defines you?
It is most predominant, means Guruji.
Now, that is what? You may say, what is the most predominant vasana? That's why I said, elsewhere in the Gita, he says, you are not defined by your vasanas, you are defined by your Shraddha. So, just because you have a predominant vasana, are you defined by that? He says, you're not defined by your vasanas, you're defined by your Shraddha. Now, what do you mean by that?
That means where you're really focusing out of 100. Few of them will be focusing. That's what we call it as.
Correct. Where you have chosen a particular vasana, where you have applied Shraddha to it, that will end up going to define you as to who you are, what you are. Even though you have 100 vasanas, it's the one or two vasanas that you have chosen to pursue and give Shraddha to, that defines you, not the 98 vasanas. But 98 vasanas also are your vasanas. But you are not defined by the 98 vasanas. You are defined by that 1 or 2 vasanas where you have chosen Shraddha to.
Means that 98 are in dormant, Guru.
No, they are not dormant. They are manifesting. They are very much manifesting. So a simple, I can only take example of myself. Please allow me. If it may be boring, you will have to switch off and switch on again. Okay. I have a vasana towards philosophy. I have a vasana towards Carnatic music. I have a vasana towards playing badminton. I have a vasana towards mountaineering. I have vasanas towards cycling. I have vasanas towards gossiping, etc., etc., etc. I've got so many vasanas. Now, how have you come to know of me? Vasanta ma. Vasanta Aparam.
Yes, Guruji.
What little you have known of me,
Yes.
if somebody were to ask you who I am, or you're introducing me to someone, how would you introduce me?
I would introduce you as a philosopher and a spiritual guru.
Okay. Now, a philosopher and a spiritual guru. Fair enough. But given that you know that I have other interests as well, you would never introduce me with my other vasanas, other interests of mine, do you?
No, unless there is a context for that.
Unless until there's a context. But still, whose vasanas are they? It is Vinay's vasanas. It is Vinay's vasanas, isn't it? It's my vasanas. It's not your vasanas. It's not
Correct.
others' vasanas. It's my vasana. But how is it that I have come to be defined by this quality to be a spiritual guru or a philosopher?
Because these are your predominant visible vasanas for everyone.
You are only visible to me once a week in the class.
So I am visible to you once a week only because of your this vasana. So that is how I would identify you, right?
Right. But when I have presented my entire personality to you, you still define me as a philosopher. Why do you define me as a philosopher? Is it the vasana? No doubt this vasana is predominant. There could be other vasanas as close, if not more, to this.
So because maybe your focus or your Shraddha is on this, and that is what is visible to us.
Correct. I'm only trying to highlight the concept of Shraddha because we're talking of it. You are defined by your Shraddha, not by your vasanas. You can choose what you want to be. Now, if I were to drop this and start showing Shraddha towards music, what would happen 10 years down the road? People will know me as a musician. As at some stage he used to philosophize, but now he's singing. He's a singer, he's a musician. Why? I have chosen to invest my thought resources into this particular field. So
Yes.
what defines you is your Shraddha, not your vasanas. That's how you understand the importance of the Shraddha. It
Yes,
defines you.
Yes, Guruji.
You follow that, ma? And one who does not have Shraddha to this field, they are subjected through this cycle of birth and death. They are subjected through this bondage. It may not mean anything to us, but for them, it is a lot of concern. It's like you're constantly falling sick. You don't realize there's so much disease. You don't realize it. I don't know if there's a better example to give. Yes, Ramji.
Hey, Guruji.
Sure.
I was trying to understand that since applying Shraddha is also something that comes to some people that doesn't come to some people. I mean, some people do it better, some people don't do it better. Is it also a result of the vasana, or is it a character that somebody builds up? For example, you always told that you have a vasana for philosophy, but there are many philosophers, and some philosophers do it like you do, some philosophers do it for money, some philosophers do it for fame. So these are all driven by certain motives. So those motives, in that case, are also a part of their vasanas, like the Shraddha. Is it also a part of the vasana?
Okay. Now, you did qualify that, let's say there are 10 philosophers, and each one, no doubt, is in the same field, but with a different agenda. One could do for name, one could do for acquiring money, one could be doing for many reasons. But these are all the motives, right? Now, motive can be selfish, unselfish, selfless. That also is nothing but a play of vasanas. Okay, so you are right so far to say that it's also a play of vasanas. But Shraddha is not a play of vasana. Shraddha is not a part of vasana. Shraddha, as I've said, is an intellectual quality.
Yeah.
Like, would you say consistency or dhruti is a vasana?
No, there also you have to use your intellect. Basically, intellect controlling the mind is the essence of both the things.
Right.
But intellect
Sir,
has to be used. Yeah.
Intellect has to be used. A certain amount of awareness is there, isn't it? So it's like one who drives. Very rarely you find people, at least in India, not followed at all, because there are no lanes. Once you're driving, you have to keep to your lane.
Correct.
If I'm in the third lane, if there's a 5-lane road, and if the turn is naturally curving, I have to turn only in my lane. I cannot switch lanes. And in order to keep to your lane, you must have a certain awareness. And I see that that doesn't exist when I drive here.
Yeah.
If especially turning, the fellow from the right will come to the left, the fellow from left will go to the right, and you've got to understand what's going on. There is no discipline to keep to the lane. So that awareness. So to keep to a particular action, again, when is it your actions become consistent, sir? We said that it's the intellectual quality.
Yeah.
All right. Now, when does your actions become consistent?
When you control your mind, I should say.
When you say operating on the intellect, obviously it's controlling the mind. We have not spelled it out, but it's understood. But beyond that, what is an essential aspect which makes your actions consistent?
That is, I would say, purpose.
You need to have a goal.
Yeah.
So it is the intellect that conceives a goal Goal gives you directions, and intellect chooses actions that takes you to the goal. What to, what not to. Like, for example, having chosen a field of philosophy and having conceived a goal of either be realization or self-development, I know I ought to lead a particular life to reach that goal of realization. And I would know there are actions which will not take me to my goal. And is my intellect able to control my mind from actions that take me off my course? That is Shraddha. You keep your actions going until you get to the goal. You don't get distracted. You have that purpose. So this is a quality you got to cultivate it. It is not inborn.
Okay.
It is not vasana. It's something which you cultivated. And once you cultivate it, it percolates in everything that you do. Anything that you do, you have this discipline very evident. Otherwise, you will be inconsistent. You will be erratic in everything that you do.
Okay.
So if you read a newspaper, how many of you go through this? I don't know. But when you're reading a newspaper, let's say you start reading an article, how many of you read the article till the very end? Oh, you may say, I only have 10 minutes to read the newspaper. I want to quickly scan through the whole paper.
I have a peculiar habit of starting from the end.
Huh? Are you by any chance, even the Muslim people, they read ulta, no?
I know. No, I read the end first and then I start. But I was just in the lighter vein. I do it rarely, but I'm just saying that in the lighter vein. But yeah, I know what you're saying, that many people don't complete what they're reading. Even books, we start and we leave them in between. Many books.
Books is too demanding. A small quarter page or just 1/3 or 1/10 of the newspaper, there's a small article, even that 3-4 paragraphs, we don't finish it. Sir, you pick up a cigarette, you don't have the Shraddha to finish the cigarette.
That Shraddha many people have, sir.
Oh, is it, sir?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know.
See, the bad Shraddhas people have very easily. The good Shraddhas which are actually, or the Shraddha and the good things, which actually is not consistent.
Sir, where do you say Shraddha? It's not Shraddha, it's addiction.
Okay.
Shraddha is an intellectual quality. Where intellect is not absent, you can't use Shraddha. It is the mind getting addicted to something, so you become a slave to it. Therefore, you think, so it's like when you are, say, example, what is the definition of concentration? Concentration is to remain in the present, not think of the past, not think of the future. Am I right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're in a theater, seeing your favorite hero, you're enjoying the movie. Has your mind gone to your problems and worries and the goals you have to achieve? On a weekend, you have gone to a movie with your family. Are you worrying of the past and the future?
If the movie is good, you will not worry, sir.
That's what I'm saying. The movie is very good. It's your favorite hero, and you're enjoying the movie.
Then
would you worry? You will not. But are you concentrating then?
Yes.
Absolutely not. So the third eye has to heal little more, sir.
You're saying that we don't concentrate on the movie when you are watching an interesting movie?
No. That's why I took an example to convey the difference. So definition of concentration is to keep the mind in a present action without allowing it to go into the past or future under the supervision of your intellect. To keep your mind on a chosen action, whatever you're doing. It could be driving, it could be watching a documentary, you could be doing your work at the desk or listening to a class now. it is very easy for your mind to wander, but keeping your mind on the present under the intellectual supervision is concentration. While you're watching the movie, you're switched off your intellect. There is no intellectual awareness there. But still, why is it mind doesn't wander? Because you're indulging. Your mind is indulging in that action, so it doesn't find a need to go anywhere, run anywhere. Similarly, just because you are able to do something, a bad activity, you can't say, I've got Shraddha for bad activity. Shraddha is an intellectual quality. Where it's for a negative action, it is addiction. Like indulgence in watching a movie is not concentration. It seems to be the same, but it's not the same. Okay,
Yeah,
sir?
I understand. Yeah.
So it's one is a conscious process, other is an unconscious process. The results are completely different.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir?
Thank you.
So, yes, sir. So to be clear, it's not, Shraddha is not a part of Vasana.
Yeah.
It is not something which comes naturally. It is something which you cultivated. It is through your own discipline
Intellect.
of development of your intellect.
Yeah.
So the Shraddha or Dhriti is commensurate to the strength of your intellect.
Correct.
If you're 30% intellect, your actions are 30% consistent, or you have 30% Shraddha in whatever you do. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right, sir. Right. Yes, Sapara Garu.
Guruji, I actually had two questions. A part of it has been clarified in the in the previous discussion. So this is regarding Shraddha. A person is defined by the Shraddha. For example, if a person is alcoholic based on his vasana, or if he's tamasic, if he has tamasic vasana, so how do I conclude that for tamasic vasana it is not Shraddha, it is addiction? That's what I have to conclude.
There's nothing as a negative vasana, sir. It's only the attitude that can be negative.
So you mean somebody is addicted to some okay, some if I am having if I like eating, for example, which is my my weakness, so you mean that it is not bad?
It's an addiction. As long as you're addicted, and what is addiction? It is your mind overpowering your intellect. It's a weakness for you. Sir, talking also is a weakness.
Yes.
Yesterday, me and Gayatri Ma got a taste of it. A gentleman walks in and he's, as a band baja raha hai, you say, no? He is constantly going on and on and on and on. Almost we got up, he's still talking. How many times I saw him, I watched to tell him I have to go. He's still talking. We have closed the door, wanting to go inside, still talking. I tell you, man, bhayama, in fact, getting afraid. Whenever I think of that person, I get afraid. Correct, Gayatri Ma, isn't it? Huh? He's addicted, don't know when to stop talking. So it could be eating, it could be talking, it could be television, it could be any indulgence. It's an addiction. I would not use that in the sense of Shraddha, where it's a conscious application of your intellect is Shraddha. So go by the definition. Once you get the definition right, then everything else could be comfortably excluded.
Okay, Guruji.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Right. So let's move on. We'll take up the fourth verse. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadyaktamurtinam matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitaha. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadyaktamurtinam matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitaha. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadam avyaktamurtinam. All this world is pervaded by me, avyaktamurtinam, in an unmanifest form. All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them. Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avasthitaha. I don't dwell in them. So a very familiar concept. All this world is pervaded by me. Remember the very famous words of the Ishavasya Upanishad, the very opening verse, the first line, where it says, Ishavasya midagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Idagam sarvam, Isha. Isha is the Lord, the self, Brahman, all this world, idagam sarvam, all this world is pervaded by Brahman. But then he says it's pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. Why is it an unmanifest? God is unmanifest. Why is he playing hide and seek with us? Simple question. God is unmanifest to us because the world is manifested to us. We are seeing a world which is manifested. Therefore, the Brahman or the God is unmanifested. And why are we seeing the world, a manifested world? Because of avidya, because of ignorance. It may be too much to swallow, too big an idea to swallow, but it's all because of ignorance. Go back to the standard example. A child sees a snake and not the rope. The snake is manifested to the child. Why is the rope unmanifest? Annapurnama. The child sees a snake, not the rope.
Hari Om Guruji.
The snake is manifest. Why is the snake manifest?
Because of our ignorance, Guruji. And we don't see the rope because we see, because of illusion. Like because we see the snake, we don't see the rope.
Correct. Because the snake you see, you don't see the rope. And why you see the snake? Because of ignorance of the rope, avidya. So the reality is the rope or the snake?
Rope.
The reality is the rope, but you and I see the snake. Similarly, these people are saying Brahman is the reality which everywhere it pervades, but it is unmanifest. You don't see it because you are seeing the world of plurality. You don't see that homogeneous consciousness, Brahman. It fits in, isn't it? Once you draw an example and a parallel, it fits in. So to the extent the avidya is removed, to that extent you see the Brahman.
Can we say it like the sun's rays pervades everywhere, but all things don't reflect in the sunlight. It's not reverse.
You can, but I would just stick to the example of the snake and the rope for now.
Oh. Nice.
Right, ma. So the antidote for the ignorance is this knowledge. So the knowledge, just like darkness is dispelled through light, the ignorance is dispelled through knowledge. You know, in the Atma Bodha, the example of Shivaji, Teriyuma, in Atma Bodha, Adi Shankaracharya talks of the example of I am pervading everything just like butter pervades milk. So the butter is in the unmanifest form, isn't it? But when you go through a certain process of heating and extracting the butter, you find the cream is there in the purest form of milk, an unadulterated milk. The ghee or butter is there in great quantities, isn't it? But you go through the process, you can extract the butter and from the milk. So just like butter pervades the milk, he says Brahman pervades everything in the world. In fact, if you want to draw a comparison of the butter and the milk, the butter is mind. Butter is Brahman, sir. Butter in milk, butter is Brahman. Correct? Because we are taking the example of butter and milk. Now, what is the aspects of comparison here? Let's quickly mention that. The butter is the Brahman. The milk is the mind. So you go through, you put the process of converting the milk into curd. So what is it that you do? The milk is heated first. When you heat the milk and you bring it to lukewarm temperature. So the ideal temperature for setting the curd is a lukewarm temperature. So the lukewarm temperature means you can't be too hot, not too cold. Now, too hot means one who is worn out by the experiences of the world, who has burnt his life by chasing the world, he is unfit for this Vedanta. Too cold, freezer, you've taken the milk from the freezer, it's too cold. A fellow who has not seen or experienced an immature of life and what life has to offer, he's also not ready for this Vedantic knowledge. So you need to have the lukewarm temperature, means one who has seen the world, understand what the world has to offer, and has developed a certain amount of disinterest to it. Such a person is ready for this knowledge, the lukewarm temperature. And what do you do to the lukewarm temperature? Milk. You add a little bit of culture. You add a little bit of curd. The little bit of curd, kinchit, he says. Kinchit means very little of the curd symbolizes the knowledge you receive from the Guru. You don't need tons of knowledge. You don't need to chew all his head. Little bit of his knowledge is enough. You put that curd little bit of culture into the milk, stir it up, leave it overnight. Next morning, you get up at the early hours and you churn the curd. When you churn the curd, what do you get? You get the cream. The process of churning the curd is manana, reflection. Receiving the little culture, adding culture into the milk is shravana. You receive the knowledge. The fluid milk which runs helter-skelter becomes matured curd in the morning. And to that, you apply the process of negation, assertion, reflection. You get the cream. What do you do with the cream? You keep it in the cold waters. In olden days, there were no refrigerators. So they used to keep it in mud pots. Even today, certain homes, they choose to drink water from those mud pots, earthen pots in peak summer in India. You don't have to go to the villages, even in city homes, you find. So it is pretty cool. So the cool water in the mud pots preserves what? Shashikanji, you're not attentively listening, you are staring at me.
Namaste, Guruji.
I will not accept namaste. Please answer the question.
The pot might be absorbing the heatness within that pot, I mean the mud. Keeping the water, cool.
No, that science I don't want of the mud pot. What is the question? What is the question?
How the water in the pot remain, cool.
No, that is not the point, sir. But please hold on, sir. Jayashrima, what is the question? Ma, can you unmute yourself, please? Yeah.
How the water in the mud pot is.
What is the water
Water in the mud pot.
in the mud pot, and also what is the cream?
Cream is the essence of the milk. Mud pot in the water is very pure form and very tasty, nice. In the pure form, water is in the pure form in the mud pot.
No, see, you are using the mud pot as a means to preserve the butter, the cream rather. Okay. If the cream is kept outside, it gets spoiled. It has to be kept in a cold temperature. So the mud pot or the waters of a mud pot is only a means to preserve the.
It will act as a preservative. Water will act as a preservative.
Preservative, correct. Now, preserve what? Here we are talking the cream. Now, what is the cream?
Butter.
No, yeah, butter or cream is an extract of churning.
Extract of milk,
churning. Extract of churning the curd, not the milk. Extract of churning the curd is the cream. Now, what is the cream compared to in philosophy?
Intellect. Pure form.
Cream is the intellect. Cream here is the wisdom that you gather.
Yes.
Every day you gather a little bit of wisdom. And what do you need to do? You need to ensure that the wisdom that you gather don't develop into Shashikanji. When you gather wisdom, what do you develop?
Gather wisdom, what we. It's a path to the realization.
Wisdom, no doubt, is a part to realization. But when you gather this wisdom, as we said, if it is not preserved, it'll get spoiled, isn't it?
Yeah. It is not okay.
It'll get spoiled. So when you gather wisdom, you develop arrogance. You develop ahankar.
Clear.
So to keep the arrogance or ego in check when you gain knowledge, you have to inject bhakti. As Jayama rightly said, you need to put the cream in the waters of devotion. When you put the cream in the waters of devotion, it preserves the wisdom that you're collecting every day. And once you have collected substantial wisdom, which is substantial cream, you put it under fire. So when you put butter or cream in the heat of fire, it becomes ghee. Once it becomes ghee, you don't need to preserve it. You can put it wherever it will not get spoiled. So the ghee is moksha, self-realization. Once you attain self-realization, you are reached a state where nothing affects you. It's a path of no return. So just taking the example of butter pervading milk, the entire spiritual sadhana is conveyed there. So every time you set the curd, you should be reminded of this spiritual practice. So it is not the job only of ladies in the house. Men also should go and do it. Shivaji, don't say it is my wife's job. I will not do it. I'm going to check with Amma. Is Shivaji coming into the kitchen setting the curd? Okay. So you got it?
Pretty clear.
Jikanji? Right, sir. So Asantama, you got all the elements in the example? Jot it down.
Yes, but what was that heat? I was thinking, is that Shraddha?
No, the heat is in the heat of meditation. The final stages of spiritual culmination, when you have gathered enough wisdom,
Okay.
that when the culmination of wisdom is nididhyasana. So Shravana, Manana, nididhyasana. In that heat of meditation, the wisdom gets completely transformed into the unfoldment of the self.
Okay.
So can you quickly spell out all the elements here we spoke?
We'll try.
Don't
So-
explain, just read what is what quickly.
So milk is mind, butter is Brahman, water in the mud pot is bhakti.
No, no, go step by step.
Beach ka steps gone. I didn't write.
Why? No, okay. What is okay? Wait, you hold on. We'll ask UK. What is the next step? Vasantama is missed.
Butter is Brahman, milk is mind. When milk is boiled and brought to room temperature, then a little kinchit curd is added, which is knowledge received from the Guru.
What is the lukewarm temperature?
Devotion.
It is the preparation of your mind, Guruji, to receive the knowledge, Shraddha.
No.
The right amount of.
It's devotion. What is?
See,
So
the
what is-
knowledge given to a hot boiling milk is not going to help.
Yeah. I will tell Guruji. It is a person who has seen life and who is experienced life and who is ready to receive this knowledge.
So there has to be the right balance, not overripe, not underripe. Like when you pluck a fruit, it has to be exactly ripe. It's ripened, isn't it?
Yeah.
Overripe or underripe is no use.
It's not.
So who is ideally fit to receive this knowledge of Vedanta? One, not who is worn out his life by the worldly pursuits, not who is immature, not knowing of the experience of the world. So one who has seen the world,
and mature enough to receive the knowledge.
And has developed a certain amount of maturity. That is a lukewarm temperature, is the ideal student
Yeah.
who's worthy of the culture.
Culture.
So the culture is?
It is knowledge received from the Guruji, from the Guru through Shravana.
And the important there is the quantum of knowledge.
Quantum of knowledge. That is kinchit.
Just kinchit, very little. Okay.
And next morning when you churn the curd, that is equivalent to manana, reflection. And the effort you put in through with Shraddha.
Why are you bringing Shraddha every time?
Okay. I thought here it will be appropriate. Here it will be appropriate.
Fair enough. But the exercise of reflection is
done in the early morning hours.
Churning.
Yeah, churning. That is churning. Then you get the cream, which is intellect.
Or wisdom.
And which is kept in the water in mud pots to preserve it. Okay. And it is, this water is water of devotion.
Yes.
It is equivalent to devotion. And once you have collected substantial quantity of this cream, then you heat it up. The heat is equivalent to meditation. And you get ghee, which is the final result, which is self-realization, which is permanent and which does not get spoiled or get disturbed.
Correct. Perfect. You got all of it, Vasantama?
Yes, Guruji. Should I repeat?
If you want to check it, please, I have no problem.
So milk is mind, butter is, so I'm not talking the lines, I'm just telling the words. Milk is mind, butter is Brahman. The lukewarm temperature is the ideal person who is ready to receive the wisdom or go into this path basically, who is neither
receive the knowledge.
Receive knowledge, either who is not worn out or immature in the cycle of life. The culture is the knowledge received, little knowledge received by the Guru, from the Guru. Churning is reflection. Then cream is wisdom or intellect. The water is bhakti or devotion. Heat is the meditation, and ghee is self-realization.
Perfect. An interesting thing is how all these elements fit in so perfectly. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and all, it's such a wholesome example. It's a beautiful context. Okay, so this is what is said in the first half of the verse, and in the second half of the verse he says, all beings exist in me, they dwell in me, but I do not dwell in them. It's like saying the finite is in the infinite is not in the finite. The child imposes a ghost on a post. He sees a post and he starts shouting, ghost, 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 ghost. So what? The ghost is dependent on the post. It needs the post, but the post exists without the ghost. I'm just giving examples. Example 1. Example 2. The waves exist in the ocean. The waves need the ocean, but the ocean remains without the waves. The ocean doesn't need the waves need the ocean. Similarly, beings exist in Brahman. Brahman doesn't need the beings. Therefore, it is all beings dwell in me. need me, but I don't need them. I am not in them. I can exist by myself. I don't need Brahman. So Brahman is saying, I don't need the beings, rather. You get it? Brahman is saying, I can exist by myself. Like the ocean says, I don't need the waves. The waves need me. All beings dwell in me. Beings need Brahman. I do not dwell in them means Brahman is saying, I don't need these beings. I exist by myself. Understood? Ramji, understood? Don't ask any question here, sir. Just say yes or no. I'm not giving you any choice here because you were just thinking of asking me a question.
No, sir, no question.
No
Very
question.
clear.
No? Very clear. Okay, just for the sake of it, show mantra, next mantra. Mantra 5. Ramji, what is the opening line of the 5th mantra?
Nachamathyani bhutani pashyame. Sorry,
English.
okay.
English depende.
Nor do beings exist in me. Behold
that's
my
all. That's all, sir.
Nor do.
In the 4th mantra, what did he say? Go back to 4th mantra, ma.
All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them.
Next mantra.
Nor do beings exist in me.
That's all. Sir, I'm only talking of this section.
Okay.
In the 4th mantra, he's saying beings
exist in me.
Exist in me. In the 5th mantra, he's saying beings do not exist in me. Please reflect. Please reflect and come back.
Yes, sir. He is continuously confusing us, sir. We have to think more.
No, he is applying Shraddha in confusing us. So in the 4th mantra, he says, what is saying in 4th mantra? Beings exist in me. In the 5th mantra, is saying beings don't exist in me. And make up your mind, man. What are you? Very next verse, the very opening statement, he contradicts himself. This is the style of the Shastras, even though it is not as pronounced as in the Upanishads, but they still follow, and this is only to make us think. And it's very interesting if you rationalize why it is. I shall keep it a secret until we come back next week. So I need to be true to the text, isn't it, sir?
Absolutely.
It's a royal secret we're talking about. So we'll come back next week. Okay. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.